Hey, Mom, you ever dated a white girl?
Nope, but I took a Vietnamese girl to my prom.
Vietnamese?
North or south?
South.
Oh, okay.
When historians and people on the internet discuss the Vietnam War, not much is discussed about the division between North and South, especially when concerning the demilitarized zone / demarcation line along the 17th parallel. Understanding this division through its photos and film creates a fuller image of the war, an image that puts Vietnam in the spotlight in the name of a war that is popularly associated with American militarism rather than a war that started between Vietnamese ideologies as a reaction to the aftermath of World War II. Most people don't even realize that the North and South Vietnamese division goes back ages ago, when the Nguyen Lords, backed by the Portuguese, in the south, triumphed over the Trinh Lords, backed by the Dutch, in the north, and eventually involving some Tay Son rebels in the mix during those wars. In 1802, after a series of civil wars in the 17th to 18th centuries, the Nguyen's created the Dai Viet Empire, uniting their country under their southern regime. Northern Vietnam, Dang Lai, and southern Vietnam, Dang Trong, literally outside and inside, was a lasting influence in the Vietnamese language. Vietnamese still say they are going out to Hanoi and into Saigon. Fast forward in the 20th century, in the year 1975, it became the opposite, with the Northern Communist faction conquering the pro-Western Southern faction and uniting the country under a Northern regime. However, upon later examination, Northern domination started way further back, when the Northern Kin people started taking Southern lands from the Kampa and Khmer people down south. Through these series of conquests, civil wars, and wars of resistance, it has shaped the land of Vietnam as we see it today. Which has me bring up the South Korean film JSA, or Joint Security Area, because it creates depictions that remind us that it is not only the Koreans that have had a long, bitter division over their own people, nation, and well-beings, with families separated by an invisible line on the earth guarded by political and military presence. Based on the film's time frame of the 2000s Korea, this video will attempt to project an imagination at how a modern Vietnamese DMZ parallels with this one, with computers, cell phones, and night vision technology in the background. Being both countries are Eastern Asiatic in nature, it shows that no matter how divided these countries are, the familial, cultural connections are still strongly shared by both sides. The film itself shows how little has changed between the animosities and procedures of both countries. Communist versus capitalist, North versus South, nationalism versus nationalism. The JSA and various other films and photos, people can now visualize the roughness of a national division and ideological warfare that has plagued man for centuries through the eyes of these two Asian countries that most do not get to see when discussing wars such as the Vietnam War. Before the 30th parallel was considered the most dangerous DMZ in the world, there was the 17th parallel, constantly bombed by American/Southern forces and invaded by North Vietnamese army troops. Instead of a usual video essay, I wanted to visually demonstrate how the Vietnam War should also be understood as two countries fighting a civil conflict rather than just a resistance war, because that itself is very objective in what it means in the context of the Vietnam War as a whole, and that no matter what country is divided, the same feelings of wanting to unite are present. Both Vietnams, just as North and South Korea feel today, want to unite. It's just a matter of what kind of government and people it wants to run it under, which is sad to say that it is a matter of might makes right if you look at how Vietnam is run today. So without much further ado, enjoy this video montage of both real footage of the Vietnamese DMZ and the cinematic depiction of the Korean DMZ from the film side by side with music about the Berlin Wall, a wall also dividing another Cold War country into two different regimes.
이번 합의를 가능케 했다고 밝혔습니다. 이번 합의에 따라 스위스와 스웨덴
they were clearly in the right in their claim of government violation.
사실은 경험 같은 전후정부를 국내에서 파견하는 방안을
Areas of Route 2 would go through the ICCS of the South Vietnamese Army established outposts after the peace fight. Government claimed there was too much fighting on Route 2. The delegation followed up with a possible of conducting the inspection another day, but with the South Vietnamese unable to provide adequate security, it did not seem likely.
After the Korean War, the North Korean POWs crossed this bridge when they're sent back, never to return. That's why it's called the Bridge of No Return.
Both sides are claiming violations by the other since the ceasefire went into effect. In order to stop the shooting, the International Commission of Control and Supervision arranged for communist and government officers to come to Luong.
남한군은 미수혁이가 초소를 떠나자마자 기다렸다는 듯이 뒤닥쳐서 엄청난 화력을 퍼부으겠어.
During the Korean War, there was a concentration camp for North Korean prisoners of war in Goje Island. The North Korean POWs were divided into two groups, communists and anti-communists who were brought into war against their wish. So many killings were committed on each side. It was a kind of civil war within a civil war. After the war, the prisoners were given freedom to choose which side to go to. South Korean's capitalist society or back to communism in North Korea. But 76 prisoners out of 170,000 refused both. They were scattered all over the world. Some of their whereabouts are still unknown.